getting old. I'm a graze. Okay. All right. Welcome everyone back again for another episode of Resolutions Design, here to learn everything related to Shopify. So we're going to do this kind of a little bit differently. We're going to have a business talk, and you're going to learn about right away what are the top things that you need to get started this year, 2021, when it comes to starting up your own business. So again, just to reintroduce myself, I'm the owner of Resolutions Design. I'm taking a very new approach towards this whole thing, with the background and kind of like everybody sleeping type of thing. So let's just get right to it. First of all, Happy New Year's to you guys. And if you guys are watching this later on in the year, thank you very much for joining. Let's talk about how to get started. One of the reasons as to why, a lot of people struggle figuring out how to start their business is because probably it's their first time. They've never actually started their own business. And this is kind of like a new venture for them, where you might say, I just want to just get started. I hear so many things, people talking that they started their own business, and I kind of wanted to do the same thing. And then there's a lot of young people too. There's a lot of young people who they just kind of want to start their own gig. They want to sell t-shirts. They want to sell, drop shipping. They want to sell their own stuff. But as a Shopify expert, I interview a lot of clients in order to try to see if they're going to be a good fit for us. And to be very honest, we're not a good fit for everybody. And the reason for that is because we look for certain businesses that meet certain criterias. I want to share those criterias with you for one reason. One of the reasons why we are very picky as far as like who we hire and all that stuff is because we want to make sure that your business succeeds. And these are the tips that I want to give you in this video so that you could apply it towards yourself, not because, you want us to work with you or you want to hire us. It's so that you have a plan of action. Exactly what are you going to do, steps A through Z, in order to go ahead and start this new business of yours. Let's start all the way at the top. You need to have some type of conceptual idea of exactly what is it that you want to sell. So there are certain key principles as far as, call it business essentials if you may. What are you trying to sell exactly? Do you want to just sell anything, or do you want to sell something specifically that you're very passionate about? Or do you not really care? Whatever sells, let me just get in it, like the stock market type of thing, right? And there's different answers for everybody on this. Let's start off with the most easiest one. What are you very passionate about? Sometimes, depending on what you're passionate about, you have so much knowledge, especially if you want to get involved into the handcrafting industry, where you want to like sell on Etsy, you want to sell something handmade. By the way, if you hear my kids in the background, don't worry about it, my bad. So something handmade is something that is extremely lucrative. So if you're a person that you're good at arts and crafts, that's amazing. But let's pretend that you don't have an idea as to what you want to do. You're just very good at it. It's almost like a handyman. He could fix anything, but he's like, well, what do I niche myself into? And that's the first step. Do something that you're very passionate about, or something that you're really good at. If you are a handscraft person, someone who likes making things on Etsy, those are amazing. We've made like several websites for certain companies that they have this artistry of creating handcraft goods. Things such as like, Tuple, like those things from Starbucks, like those cups of coffee. I can't think right now. They decorate them, they make them very customized. Anything extremely customized sells a lot, right? Because you're creating something that's very unique and that maybe you don't make too much of. So if you're into the handcraft world, go to Etsy and start looking at other people who just make things. And then look at their reviews. When you look at the reviews, it clearly shows you the demand. And that's data that you need in order to convince yourself to say, I want to sell that. Because clearly, Samantha Jones or somebody, right? They're showing that they're selling a lot of it. So go ahead and you do that too if you could do it, right? So I'd say start off there. All right. Now let's talk about that individual who's maybe not so arts and crafts. They're just like, hey, I want to flip the dollar. I want to figure out how do I buy something that is high in demand and create a business out of it. Starting at the top, you have to look for a product that either solves one or two things, okay? And you might have heard this a lot. It either solves a pain point. A pain point meaning that it is a problem and you're taking away pain from somebody. This could be things like you're solving a problem, rather if you're in the supplements industry, if you're in the industry of selling something to somebody that's gonna help them out in some type of way, something that they just need. It's a pain point that you're solving. That is the first angle. You need to sell something that solves a pain point problem. Then number two is a hobby. What are some hobbies that people are just like super crazy about? You might think that this question is too broad, and I might make some people uncomfortable from the beginning of this video, because you might think, why don't you just tell me the answer already? Why don't you just tell me exactly what should I sell so I could sell it? Why don't you just tell me the website of, what sells the most? Because I don't want to get into all that. You could do that too. There's tons of websites out there that you could figure out to see what's selling the most, right? But to really dig deep and to really figure out exactly how you're going to get into this industry for long term, not just for something quick, fast money, something that you'd say, all right, I'm gonna build this business and I'll make it real big, and then I'm gonna automate it, and then it's just gonna be a money tree. Then let's talk. That's exactly what we're here for. All right, so phase number one, pain point. Typically, the fitness industry is an example. The fitness industry is one of the best examples as far as you actually selling something, right? And it's a pain point, especially those that start in the beginning of the year, new me. And heck, I need to lose weight too. But you know what I'm saying, right? Like, you're solving something, a pain point. You're taking a pain away from somebody. Supplements industry, like I told you, fitness industry, those are pretty much big examples. And they're very good. Let's talk about the hobbies. Think about the hobbies that people just want to buy stuff from. Don't think about hobbies that you want to get into. Don't think about that. Think about hobbies that have money, right? So how about this one? You ready? What's an expensive hobby? Like, people who have this hobby have a lot of money, right? I'll give you a generic one. Golf. You know how many people golf? There's a lot of people who golf, all right? So then why don't you try to sell something that supports the golf community, people who love golf? Because if you pitch to those, they're not stingy. They got money. They're gonna buy from you. Those are just examples, right? And you can go all types of ways. So think about the demographic who you want to cater to. Do you connect with people of higher income and you know how to speak their language and you know how to sell to them? That's important too, because imagine if you come across somebody that has a lot of money and they ask you, hey, so what do you do? I have a store and I sell products to people like you. Oh yeah? What type of products do you sell? Well, I sell golf clubs. What's so special about your golf clubs? And then you just go in on the details as to how your golf clubs are the most amazing golf clubs. I can't even say it right. Due to titanium steel, they're so light, they improve your swing, they're aerodynamic, they're this and this and that, because you really got into it, right? And so these are just examples. Here's tip number two. Tip number two is you have to have some type of budget. The financial thing about this whole business thing is one of them that either will make you or break you. Here's one of the biggest mistakes I've seen time and time again, which, by the way, if you're part of this team, nothing wrong against you, you're probably succeeding. I'm talking about the average, the overall amount of people who are involved in this. So let's say that you are in dropshipping. Please understand that dropshipping is extremely saturated. There are so many people involved in dropshipping. In order for you to stick up against the rest, you're gonna have to put a lot of hard work, as well as a lot of money, right? Because again, it's a type of business model where not a lot of people have to dish out cash in order to make money. I'm sure you've heard it. You gotta spend money to make money. If you're in drop shipping, you're barely spending anything at all. You're like, I want to rub two nickels together as much as possible in order to create $1. So, I mean, if you are very successful at that, I think power to you. And I wouldn't want to take anything away from you. I say, keep going. You're probably one of those 1%ers or 5%ers that actually do very well. So again, I'm not saying it's not possible. It's just that the road to success is very slim because there's a lot of people who start at the same time. But then when push comes to shove, 1 year later, how did your sales go? How much did you end in sales? I would like to invite all of those people who are in the dropshipping business to please let me know down in the comments and let me know how much did you close 2020 last year? How much revenue in sales did you end in dropshipping last year? Especially if you ended with more than $150,000 in sales last year, revenue alone, okay? Now, of course, whoever responds to that, whoever puts it in the comments, don't ask, oh, so what do you sell? That's just unethical. Don't do that. What I'm saying is pay attention to the people, right? But the real beautiful businesses that actually do succeed for more than 1, 2, 3, and even surpassing 5 years are the ones that don't do drop shipping. These are the ones that they use data to test the market, right? They don't make decisions until they have proven data that something is valuable. And more so, what they do is that they take this sales data and they say, I want to customize this to my brand. I don't want to sell someone else's brand. I want to sell my brand, right? It needs to have my name on it. It needs to have my color coding, my typography, my this, my that. It needs to be just beautifully branded. So a lot of successful businesses that surpass more than 5 years, they know that the first step before you build your website, is to create a brand. What do I mean by brand specifically? Kind of like a branding guideline. A branding guideline displays brand messaging. It shows the product. It shows what the logo looks like in different forms. It shows the typography. It shows iconography. It shows everything that you would do with the brand. So you give that to your web designer. You give that to the printer. You give that to the packaging company. You give that to this. You give that to that. And all of that becomes a brand. You need a brand first. So if you're really serious about getting this started, branding is the first thing you should definitely solidify on your investment. It's not going to be something quick, fast. It can take some time, but solidify on a brand. That's extremely important. Now, budget is the next part, unless that was the previous part, but I never got to it. But anyways, budgeting. Like I said again, people trying to rub nickels together, they barely got like maybe less than $1,000 in order to invest in a business. Ask yourself this question and ask anybody. You could take $1,000 and in a matter of within less than 12 months, you make over $100,000. What, did you invest in Bitcoin or something? Like, who does that, right? But the thing is, even at that, it's like, what about the normal folks? It's very difficult to say, I only have $1,000 to build this company online to sell products and be successful, because it's just sadly unrealistic. Now, the part that really stinks is the fact that there's so many different media outlets, such as a whole bunch of other YouTubers, maybe like these young kids that live in their garage or live in the mom's house with this cool hair and says, look, I just sold so much money on Shopify. Look at my dashboard, right? Don't get caught up with the dashboard. I could show you a dashboard that makes like multi-millions of dollars. That doesn't mean that that store belongs to me. And there's so many tricks that these people use. You have to be very careful. So you could even do it yourself if you wanted to. What do these people do? They create a Shopify store and they create fake orders. And those fake orders, they mark it as paid. And then all of a sudden that shows up on the dashboard. It's unrealistic. It's not real sales. Notice how they never show you their bank account. right? So what I mean specifically is that real businesses, they have a budget set aside in order to build it from the ground up, okay? Budget is important. The follow-up question to that is, well, realistically, for a startup business year one, how much budget should I have? You have to take into account several things. If you're doing dropshipping, take into consideration that dropshipping, you're not paying for products ahead of time. However, you need a nice website. If you're thinking about doing it yourself, chances are it's not gonna come out right. It's gonna look uglier than the theme or whatever it is that you're getting. Or you hired someone from Fiverr and it's really just mediocre. Let's face it, that's not gonna sell. And would you buy your own product if you went to the store? The way it looks like? Imagine someone else build a store similar to yours, that you have zero experience in web design, you have zero experience in web development, you have zero experience in understanding how to sell, right? Online, even that. So sometimes we need to delegate things to professionals, right? Small example. Let's say you got in trouble with the law and you have to go to court. Well, technically you could go to court by yourself and defend yourself with the law if you wanted to. You could waive the rights to have an attorney, but to your best advantage, if you really want to succeed, you're better off hiring an attorney. Why? Because they studied law, right? If you don't have money, you're gonna go with the cheapest guy in the market. Just understand that when you go fight in court, what's gonna happen? You have a very high chance in what? Losing. Why? Because you went cheapo on the attorney and he was like, whatever, right? That's why you have to be careful. The same thing goes with a lot of things. Can you do it yourself? Sure. Can you fix your car? Absolutely. Watch a YouTube video, go for it. But there's always that chance where things could definitely mess up. You're better off, if you want things done right, to hire a professional. Ask yourself, how much is at stake? Ask yourself this question. I have $1,000. I'm gonna hire a professional to build my website who's super cheap on the low. Once he builds my website, I'm gonna push some marketing to it. It barely gets any sales. Why? Because you went cheap on the freelancer. You cut corners, right? So instead, what do? You don't wanna throw away time and money on a basic freelancer who doesn't know what he's doing, or all he did was follow my channel and just started copying what I do or something like that, right? Like that just, it's a little bit challenging that way in order to earn some revenue. So here's what you do. Make sure you have your 9-to-5, right? Let's just start off with that. If you don't have a 9-to-5, or if you're not producing money somehow, some way, in order to put food on the table, that's probably your first focus. You need to build something that generates money to hold the roof over your head. If you don't have that, you're entering into waters where it's extremely risky for you handing over money to somebody that eventually that could potentially be lost. It's risky. It's too much of a risk. Play it safer. Here's what you do. Get yourself a 9-to-5 job to sustain your home. Then get a second one temporarily. I say temporarily because you need that secondary income in order to save up budget so that you could hire someone to do your branding, your marketing, your web design, so on and so forth, right? Question is, how much money? Drop shipping, $5K. $5K is what you need. You could hire, let's say, a professional for $3 and then use $2 for marketing, right? The marketing could be a setup, it could be a tutorial, it could be just whatever. You just need it, okay? If we want to play a little bit more on the safe side, then $7K. You could try to build a website yourself, put some drop shipping, clean the pictures, follow all the tutorials that I have going on. If that's what you want to do, go right ahead and do it. Then properly spend the marketing dollars by doing A/B testing on some campaigns, see what works and see what doesn't. If you realize that things are not panning out your way due to marketing, hire a professional so that they could do a website audit, a marketing audit, so on and so forth, so that you don't just splurge your money to something that potentially won't work out. Typically, bigger brands spend more than that in the year one. They spend a lot. Sometimes most established businesses that have very good brands, I'm talking about whether if it's shoes, whether if it's, gaming controllers, whatever it is that you think of, they probably have separated $20,000 ready to rock, right? They understand that they're gonna hire the right people. They're not just gonna say yes to anybody real quick. They're going to interview the right people, ask the right questions, and then move forward from there, okay? Next step that you should have in mind. Always remember that when starting a business, it is not something that you'll get rich right away. In fact, it is extremely stressful because chances are you don't quit your day job. You don't quit your job, you're still working your 9 to 5, right? And then you're seeing this business grow. Remember, when you invested in the business and you invest in marketing, you're still upside down on that investment because you spent maybe $5,000 on a website, you spend an extra $3,000 a month on marketing. It's a lot of money. In your first year, you're gonna be upside down. Upside down, and it's totally normal. You cannot flip out. If you are upside down $7,000, $8,000 in this business, are you like, oh, I don't know how I'm gonna pay rent. I don't know how I'm gonna eat. I need to pay my car payment. You can't be thinking like that. Those questions should never come about. If those type of numbers are not numbers that easily fall out your mouth, $7,000, $8,000. Don't worry. Don't get so anxious and say, but I have to start. No, take it slow. Take it slow. Or here's how you could start. You could also kind of like, instead of building the Shopify store right away, sell it on Etsy, sell it on Amazon, sell it on eBay, right? Here's the kicker. Kicker is that every time you sell something, they're taking a nasty chunk. They're taking 30, maybe even more percentage off of your sales. And what are you left with? You're left with crumbs, right? But it's okay. Because if you got good branding and those packages are leaving, even if it's off of eBay, they're gonna wanna look for your website right after that, right? But if you just stay on Amazon, you stay on Etsy, you stay on eBay, years and years and years, word of mouth is the next sales tactic. Hey, where'd you get that? That's a cool wallet. I got it on eBay. eBay gets all the credit. Oh, I got it on Amazon. No one talks about your name. You see what I mean? And then they just go to eBay, they try to find it, but then here's a competitor that has a cheaper price selling kind of the same thing. They're not gonna buy from you, and then that's it, right? You don't want that. You wanna make sure that your branding is exceptional, that what you deliver is something out of this world. But that first year is your biggest grind. Next step, you have to sacrifice something. Have you ever been amongst friends, men, women, right? And all of a sudden say, hey, you know what? They always talk about these elites and they say that you have to sacrifice something in order to get to success. And here comes these conspiracy people and they talk about all types of things, right? To a certain degree, it's true. If you want to really over excel yourself and become someone of a different tax bracket, that you're not making 60,000, 40,000, 30,000 a year anymore. You're making 150,000, you're making 200,000, you're making 500,000 a year, right? You have to have some type of sacrifice in order to get there. You can't do that by still partying every weekend, going to the bars with your friends all the time, spending money on, and I'm not saying anti-relationship because obviously I'm married, right? But I'm saying like, you can't just splurge money out there or time. The weekend is not a time of rest if you're trying to do e-commerce. The weekend means that you're working while everybody's resting. It means that you wake up early in the morning while everybody's still sleeping. It means that your boys, your guys, your gals, they're looking for you and you're like, hey, I'm too busy right now. I'm too busy right now. Listen, I'm going through something right now. I'm gonna hit you back, but I'm safe, right? You have to sacrifice something because you're trying to grind time in order to build something. You're trying to be this Iron Man. You're trying to build this technology. You're trying to build this thing that's gonna revolutionize your life. okay? And that's why sacrificing is so important. So you're gonna spend all your time just trying to devote to e-commerce. What can you do? Create blog articles, work on your SEO, look for products, talk to manufacturers, right? You're gonna post on social media, you're gonna plan on social media, you're gonna start a YouTube channel, you're gonna do this, you're gonna do that. Everything is just, you're wearing so many hats in the beginning. Year one, it's called the sacrifice. You must do that while you're saving money, self-disciplined, living minimalistic. You have to. So let's say if you have lavishes, you have things, you have that. Hey, that ain't going nowhere. All you gotta do is just just tighten up your belt, sacrifice, live like if you were a college student, like eating ramen noodles or something. I'm not telling you to eat ramen noodles. I'm just telling you, minimize your expenses. Minimize your expenses so that you don't have to splurge so much. And next thing you know, e-commerce money or business money starts leaking out, because then it's just gonna take so much longer in order for this business to go to that next level, right? And that's the thing. Once you surpass all of this, and once the business starts to generate more than $10,000 every month, how much is $10,000 every month in gross revenue? That's $120,000 a year. You made it. You have surpassed what a lot of people couldn't. And you are in the road for the next milestone. You want to know what that next milestone is? Statistic has it that most small businesses, and almost all, fail because they don't reach the 5-year mark. It's the 5-year mark. You have to surpass 5 years in this business every year, increasing sales. After you surpass 5 years, that's not a hobby anymore. That's a real business. It's a real one. Aside from that, if you can't reach 100K in year number 1, that's fine too. You have to adjust year number 2 and really catch up what you should have done in year number 1, okay? But if year number 2, you start doing less than year number 1, who are we kidding? It's, business is not for everyone. That's another tip, guys. Don't force business to your life. If it isn't you, it isn't you, right? There's tons of people who are just good at what they do. If they're good at, swinging golf clubs, they're just great at it and they make a life out of it. If you're good at making YouTube, do YouTube, right? If you're good at doing this, just stick to that. But try your best. Try your best. If you're gonna go through e-commerce, you need to give it your all. Just be obsessed with it, right? And remember, you're gonna have people from the outside looking at you and they're gonna be like, yo, what's wrong with this person? Like, you're weird. That's because they're stuck on the 9-to-5 wheel machine. That's why. And you're different. Well, guys, I speak a lot sometimes. I hope that this information really helps you. And if you have any questions, please let me know down in the comments. Also, don't forget to subscribe and turn on that notification bell in order to know when the next video is coming out. There's tons of videos that I'm prepping, but I also want to know, what did you think about all this message? This video is very different because it's coming from a Shopify expert that deals with clients that see them succeed, instead of saying, hey, I have a business in Shopify and I made all this money, and you could do it too. No. I work with a lot of different clients, and that's why I give this advice to you. It's so that you can become essentially one of them, very successful, many years in the business, and you're just making all that good bread. See you next time, guys. Thank you very much.